We're on page 83. Let's learn the Kitzer. Ala mechanech v'amadrich l'sasek tchila b'hasoris hachasorin hamasukin u'mo'uz b'yoser. The rule that the Rebbe says is that the educator should deal with the worst type of malady in the student and put aside the others. Don't try to get everything done at once. And this is why, I just repeat, and I don't want to go over the whole thing, he spent a lot of time talking about who is the person, the ratzon, the will, the time, the pleasure, because if you identify that, you understand both on the positive side and the negative side what needs to be done. But his conclusion is very, very clear in the Kitzer. Let's go, the word, hasaras hachisaron hamesukin umous yoser. To remove the deficiency that's most dangerous and disgusting, yoser, the most. That's what should be your goal and objective. And this too, just for a moment, is many times an educator fails in that area. You know, in Yiddish we say echap tzechon af kleine zachen, which means he goes for straws, for hay. When you're talking about, you know, something, there are things that are so much more important and so much more, sensitive and to deal with. So don't waste your time dealing with the kleine Sachen. First, get rid of the greatest obstacles, and from there go. Okay, Yudzayin. Tanai Shvi. This is the final prerequisite for the matzah, for the situation of the student, for the educator to reckon with and deal with. Hatehila v'aschar. This is praise and reward. Hatechocha v'oinish, rebuke and punishment. Bechinuch v'adracha. Let's see the previous Rebbe, a tzaddik and a chassid and a chassidish Rebbe. Let's see how he sees these issues. HaKadosh Baruch Hu itbiya b'teva b'nei Adam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he made inborn within a man l'sanig ala tehila, to have pleasure from praise. A normal, average person has pleasure, tainuk, from praise. V'lishev el hagmul b'socher toiv, and to seek reward, good reward. You know, many times you see people, when you honor them and they shun you, or not shun you, but they say, no. Well, rare is the person who really means it deep down, because by nature, a person likes praise. Okay? They say there was this chassid, his name was Rebbe Avram Paris. He was yet a student of the Rebbe Rashab in Lubavitch, and he made his way to after Russia to Poking, the DP camp over there where many Yidden were after the war, and someone brought him some food, and he asked him, "Does it taste good?" And he looked up and he said, "Why are you cursing me?" He worked so hard all his life not to enjoy food, to eat the food because he needs it for the existence of his body. But the enjoyment is unnecessary. It's called, on his level, a taiva. So here, someone, gave him a bracha, a wish he should enjoy his food, so he considered that a curse. Now, you really have to be a Baal Darga to feel that truly, you know what I mean? And no one will ever know. It's only between you and Hashem. So the average person is not that way. We have to begin there, and that's what the Rebbe says. The Eibishter HaKadosh Baruch Hu was matbiya b'teva b'nei Adam, that a person enjoys praise, has tainuk, not just simcha, but he has deep pleasure when he's praised. V'lishay v'lagmul, and he seeks, he yearns reward, b'sachar toiv, We all do. Bein musari uvein gashmi. And the Rebbe says he's seeking ethical reward and he's seeking material reward. Ala yosher v'atoiv. Hey, I invested so many years in educating my children. Let's talk about this for a second. And they don't turn out to be the way I, my wife, my rabbi, my community wants them to be. They feel disappointed. And the question is always, is this right or wrong? And we've discussed this many times, and we've said that the truth is everyone has their own connection to Hashem. So to have an expectation is not healthy. Nevertheless, if it's not an expectation, but just look, Hashem, the parsha of several weeks ago, last week, right? Geshem. The Baal Shem Tov teaches Geshem, Gishmechem doesn't mean just rain. Geshem comes from the word Gashmiyut, your materiality, your material matter. If when you will keep the Torah, you'll get Gashmiyus. No. What if a person is not blessed with Gashmiyus? And I'm not talking about being, a billionaire. Pasha struggles. Does he have a right to ask Hashem, I invested, I did what you wanted. Why do I deserve not to have? And the Tzemach Tzedek and the Lubavitcher Rabbeim in some of their Maimorim on Rosh Hashanah, on the pasuk Min HaMeitzar Karosi Ka, from out of the stress I called to Hashem, Anoni B'merchav Ka, answer me with broadness and expansiveness. Actually starts with the Alter Rebbe. All the Rabbeim, they have this idea that they explain that the world Hashem made has both poverty and wealth. That's the way He created the world. The question is, why should I be the poor one or why should I be the rich one? And they say the person has a right to korosi, min ha-meitzar korosi. From out of distress I call. Yes, Hillel.
I just want to say that in the 30s, Hillel Zeitlin wrote an essay called Dvar La'amim.
What was it called? What was it called?
Dvar La'amim. Dvar La'amim.
Yeah.
A word to the nations. It's in, I forget which sefer it's in, but in it he addresses the national character of each nation. And, they're kind of like good sides and their challenges, right? For a bunch of different nations. And when it comes to the United States, he says, America, you need to recognize that wealth and poverty all comes from God, and they're both tests. And he says, what's the test of wealth? The test is how well you share it.
That's right.
And he said, you've been uniquely blessed in human history with a great big country and great natural resources and a very industrious population. He says, but if you don't share the wealth that you have, he said, your place as the preeminent global economic power could be displaced, he said, writing in the 30s, even by Japan.
Interesting.
Fascinating insider point at that time.
Right. So let's go back. Thank you. So though an expectation is not a healthy attitude, but nevertheless, a call and a cry is. That's the difference. Min ha-meitzar korosi, Yaakov, does not mean I expect. It means I'm in pain. I'm calling out to Hashem. Min ha-meitzar korosi, out of distress. That's perfectly acceptable. So when the Rebbe says here in this paragraph that a person yearns for schachar toiv, good reward, whether it be ethical or material, for the good that he does, it's from that perspective that he's coming from. And at the same time, It's natural for one to receive scolding, and this is very Musar-like. I'm sure Yaakov relates to this well from his knowledge of Musar. To acknowledge a punishment that we get because of our crookedness and bad acts. That's tit for tat. You know, you go through a red light, you can get a ticket and pay and deal with it. That's the way it is. This inborn or acquired characteristic is concealed is concealed and hidden in the depths of the heart and mind of the student, the educated ones. A good educator works on revealing those feelings in the student. By fortifying, extolling, and polishing the beautiful traits and virtues, and to distance and remove and uproot the disgusting and low life type of unhealthy things. Upon this is dependent on educators' if efforts in this regard. So in other words, what he's saying here is the following, in simple English. Don't discount reward and punishment when it comes to education. And again here, let's not confuse this with bribery. I'm not talking about bribery here. We're talking about you work hard, you get a reward. You don't work hard and you goof up, you get a punishment. You get a, whatever you deserve. The Rebbe says that if done correctly, even this is relevant to the healthy development of a student. And this is a very, one second, Yaakov, this is a very sensitive issue because the line between bribery and emes is very thin. And, one needs to be very careful in educating, especially when it comes to educating, not to sell the product, not to give the product because of what you will get or won't get. Because usually that backfires. There are some people that can handle it, but most people cannot. And this has nothing to do with how religious you are and where you came from and all that. It's a natural tendency. That's what he says here. By human beings to appreciate reward and to understand punishment, but it's up to the educator to reveal it by the student. Yes, Yaakov.
Word is eluding me right now, but I don't want to whitewash einish because einish definitely means punishment. But there is also another aspect to our actions, and that is just a consequence. Not all the time is
okay. So
it's an einish, it's a consequence.
Okay, so again,
can somebody help me with a word for consequence? Or is this?
I don't recall right now too, but the word in Hebrew is einish, but it also means consequence. But I'm not going to say that it doesn't mean punishment. Oh yeah, totza'ah. That's right. Totza'ah. Thank you, Avi.
Thank you, Avi.
Okay.
No charge.
Klolei yedua, the general rule, ki ein uman b'lei kelim, hu b'chol davar umnis, that one's trade requires one needs tools to be an artisan. You're not an uman, right? Moshe is an uman in art. Look at his beautiful background on the wall. I look at it, I'm inspired through the screen, right? So you have the uman, and you need tools to accomplish that. Okay? The Rebbe says this is true in every type of situation. Bein ba'avodas malacha, bein b'meleches machshevet. Whether it be with actual work of the hand, whether it be with machshava, with your head, with your mind, the work of the mind. Ubein b'umanois hamusariyos kilimud. And whether it be in the craftsmanship, in the ethical craftsmanship of study, and chinuch v'adrach and education. In each of these areas, an artisan requires tools. You don't have the tools, you can be the greatest artisan, but you don't have what to work with. The thing is that the tools change. Is based on the craftsmanship. The paintbrush. Moshe, you didn't expect this morning, huh? The paintbrush in the hand of the artist, hamichachol means the paintbrush, bidei hamitzayer, in the hand of the artist, who kidagarzin is similar to the axe, biyad abanoy, in the hand of the builder. Ukleo umnus hamusriyim, and ethical tools, bidei hamorim, next page, 85. In the hands of teachers, educators, and counselors, are similar to the tools of the artists and the builders. The pupils, the students, he's extending now the analogy, are like raw material in the hands of the educators. Kol chaymer deirish hachshara yedua. Every material requires a certain preparation, right? Cloth, parchment for tefillin, needs what we call duchsus and gvil and other right things. And the same is for every type of material. You can't make a proper chair if there's splinters in it. You have to sand it down. So too, the tools used for educating needs hachshara, preparation. So it is with students. We first must prepare them that they should be able to receive education that's proper for them. That will be good, proper and good. In addition to doing mitzvahs and having pure faith. In other words, there's ethical issues that need to be prepared, that the educator must prepare the student so that he succeeds. Says the Rebbe, listen to this. What are one of these tools? Praise. You need to praise a student. That's right. You have to make them feel $1,000,000. You make them feel good. Flattery has its place.
Well, I just want to say that it takes a really special person to say that.
I know you're referring to the Frierdiker Rebbe. Anyway. Why is this important? To remove him, to take him out of his matzav. Look again, he uses the word matzav, his situation. Lahamidai al basis, and to place him on a plateau that's kavoya yoisa, that's higher, greater me'asher betchila than he was when he came in to the room, to the educator. So this is what We're talking about Hilul and Shvach, praise.
Dalton, you're on mute.
What?
Rebbe Dalton, you're on mute.
No, he's not.
No, I'm not.
He's hearing it.
Maybe you are. I'm not on mute.
I'm not on mute, but all right, now I can hear.
Okay? So this is about praise. Now, v'hagmul b'schar toiv, the reward. When you tell a student you'll be rewarded for this, me'oideit u'mechazek es ha'machunich v'hamudrich, it supports and strengthens the student, lafiach b'ruach shifas aliyah, to give him a desire and yearning to grow, she'ifa, we call that she'ifa, medarga l'darga bein b'liv bein b'anoga, whether it be in learning, whether it be in conduct. I could tell you guys, for me personally, this was so true when I was a student. I'm telling you, I thrived on knowing that if I will work hard, I will get a good mark and I will be recognized. See, every person, now another person can say, well, you're a yesh, you're a big, you're a yesh, an ego. You couldn't do that without that. That's, first of all, that's my cheshbon, not someone else's. And secondly, that's not really a Yiddish cheshbon coming from the Yetzer Tov, it's coming from the other side. Why? Because if a student needs that, they should use it. There'll be time later, and in my case too, when I got older, and I got to Morristown, and we started to learn seriously Chassidus, and I looked at myself and my character, my issues, I said, hey, is this enhancing my ego, or it's bringing more bittul? And I dealt with those issues then. I tried to, at least. So, and the Rambam, by the way, this is a Rambam. The Rambam says the way you educate a child, you start off with zuckerlich, candies. And from there you go with toys and presents. And from there you go with honor. The whole system the Rambam mentions. And when the Rambam mentions that, he's not saying it just to make you feel good. He's telling you that because that is the healthy way of development. So the Rebbe says here, it triggered something in me when I read here. V'agmul b'socher toiv me'oideg u'mechazik es ha'machunich v'hamudrach lahafich b'ruch she'ifa, to do better. I experienced it, yes, I remember walking around saying to myself, I want to be the best in the class, not second best, the best. So, again, if taken to an extreme and leading to putting down others and things like that, it's not acceptable. But for oneself, and this is important, you have children. We all have children, and we see different. Some of them need this more than others, right? And so the Rebbe is saying, educator, mechanech, don't forget that this is crucial for the development of your student, and you have to know how to reveal it in the student. On the other hand, scolding. Look what he says here with 2 lines. Where is it coming from? From hidden love. You don't give musar because you're angry or frustrated. If so, like I told you, you're not in a position of giving musar and you should be quiet. And this is true both in relationships, with shalom bayis and everything. If you had a bad day at work and you come home and you start giving musar, you're wrong. Musar based on our own idiosyncrasies and issues is not healthy musar, and it should not be said. Close your mouth. He says here, when we talk about teichacha, it needs to come me'ava musuteres, because you really love this person, this student. And it's from that perspective that you say the musar. What's the litmus test? The previous Rebbe in a Maimer 1924 has a whole page on musar. I'm giving criticism. One of the criteria is that if the person who you give the musar to walks away and kind of doesn't listen and you get upset that you spend so much time and effort sharing it, he says, then you're not a candidate to give Musar because you're not genuine. If Musar needs to be given because it's the right thing from God's perspective at that time, that's it. What you get out of it makes no difference. And if you feel it makes a difference, then you're not genuine in giving Musar. You have an agenda. You have a precondition. You have a selfish motive in giving that Musar. And you shouldn't be giving it. Giving that criticism. So the Rebbe says here, it has to come from genuine hidden love. When you point a finger on the crookedness and the sin, whether it be in heavenly matters, worldly matters, not just between God, man and God, between man and man. You point out that you made a big mistake here. Okay? And the consequences, Yaakov likes that word better, and the consequences that are very severe because of this mistake. Okay? So it's up to the educator to find the best manner and best way to deliver praise and rebuke. And the proper and most beautiful ways to share reward and punishment and consequences. What does this mean? The educator must pay attention, make his heart and mind pay attention on the amount, the right measure amount of praise and rebuke, and the how much reward and punishment. He has to evaluate how much of that he should share. But more so, he needs to think about the double benefit that the student will get, that the student will see that what's more so he's saying is that the student will realize that my educator, my teacher, is firm and proper, right? Meaning he's fair. That's the word I want. Fair. Yosher means fair. His hanagasa, his conduct is fair. Because even when he gives me Musar, he does it with love and calmness. And if he does give punishment and consequence, it's with sincerity of heart. And the praise and the reward are all appropriate. So what he's saying is, as we said earlier, that when the student realizes that the teacher means his best, there'll be so much more willingness to accept and hear the praise and the consequences. Kitzur, simas leva mechanech v'madrich, the attentiveness of the educator, b'bchira signoin hatihila, by choosing the style of praise and rebuke, and the methods of dispensing reward and punishment. This concludes this 17-chapter essay. We are a few days from Matan Torah. It's the third day, so it's appropriate just to conclude with a few minutes about Matan Torah. And there's many things to talk about, but briefly, Matan Torah, on one hand, it seems like, what do I have to do? Buy flowers and cheesecake? Like, this is an easy Yom Tov. The truth is, Chavre, that this is in a way the hardest Yom Tov. You know why it's the hardest Yom Tov? Because you have to find things to make it Yom Tov. And I don't mean flour and cheesecake. flowers and cheesecake. I mean to look into yourself and ask yourself the question, am I living with Torah? Do I want the Torah? Am I telling the Torah what to tell me? And this is why the Sfiras HaOmer is the proper transition between Pesach and Shavuos, because unless we don't have the Sfiras HaOmer, we come into Yom Tov, we say in Yiddish, anaketer, a naked one, bare bones. Listen, Hashem loves us and Hashem accepts everyone. So, just as in the Chabad house in 65 and 69, everyone's welcome. Hippie, not hippie, hair, no hair, pants, no pants, just come in. You're Jewish, come in. Right? We don't look at ourselves as hippies, but we're also sometimes very naked, very bare. Because what did we learn? And how did we learn? So we're also naked in a way, okay? And yet you have to say to yourself, Matan Torah is here. Shavuos is here. Hashem is giving us the Torah, right? We're getting the Torah. We can't change that. We cannot change that. The question is whether we are going to be makabel the Torah. Matan Torah, Hashem gives us the Torah. Then there is Kabbalah HaTorah. Kabbalah HaTorah. Avi, do you mind clicking your mute? Thank you. Kabbalah HaTorah, that's up to every individual. And that is the Avodah. Are we a Keli? Did we make ourselves more of a Keli? And the Rebuke Rebbe, the author, and we've been learning his Chassidus for so long, wished everyone, he had a particular bracha that he gave everyone for Shavuos. And the Rebbe continued, which was, Kabbalas HaTorah b'simcha u'b'pnimiyut. B'pnimiyus. May you receive the Torah. He didn't say, may Matan Torah. I wish you, if I'm giving you a bracha, I'm hoping, and I'm giving you something that will help you, help us. Kabbalas HaTorah. Receive the Torah. And then he tells us how we should receive it. Meaning, if you do these two things, you will receive the Torah properly. Simcha and Pnimius. You can't be makabel the Torah with morbidity, with anger, with frustration, with feeling, where is God on Lag BaOmer when 45 people Nebuch passed away? Where is Hashem now with all these missiles flying? And my daughter broke her a bone of hers because she had to run from the 4th floor where she lives down to the miklat. And she was rushing to get the kids down in the 90 seconds, and she twisted it, and now she has a cast, right? So, okay, Mr. Shem, she'll be all right. But, you ask these questions, and you're allowed to ask yourself the questions. But that cannot remove the simcha. Because if you lose the simcha, I tell you again what my great uncle said, Reb Mendel, if you don't have your money, you're still a man. If you don't have your health, you're a half a man. If you don't have your drive, you're no man at all. Simcha is drive. You have to have simcha. Because if you don't have simcha, you're an angry old man or a young man. You're angry and no one wants to be next to you. Not your wife, not your kids. Goodbye. So that's it, guys. We got to just once and for all the rest of our life only work with simcha. And it's hard. What?
Would you say, what would you say is the relationship of Simcha and Ratzon in the sense that we were learning about Ratzon the last couple of days?
I would say Ratzon fits more to the Pnimius, to the next word, Pnimius. Okay. What I'm saying is if something is Pnimius, it's internalized, that touches your Ratzon and your pleasure. And that's why the Rebbe adds, Avi, the word upepnimius, with inwardness. Bichitzonius, externally, superficially, we could walk around, fake it till, what's the expression? Fake it till you break it? Or, it's like...
You make it.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. Okay. But pnimius, you want to go beyond faking it. You want it to... Kricharain in the Beiner is a Yiddish expression. Kricharain, crawl into the bones. Your bones become Torah. Your bones become, and this is an avodah. So Hashem, the previous Rebbe wished us. He gave us a bracha. He gives us a bracha. Be makabel the Torah b'simcha b'pnimius, then you'll be able to appreciate Torah, and people will appreciate that you are such a person, so they will also appreciate Torah. And that's the answer. Sometimes we say, well, my parents, my friends, they don't appreciate what I'm doing. And this is true for Bali Tshuva, and then people are from all their life. The answer is, believe me, if you become bepnimius and you do it with simcha, it will be contagious and people will gravitate to it. And you see it every day. I daven, in non-Lubavitcher shuls, and I just do my thing, and I see how, without even saying anything, people are respectful. You know what I'm saying? If you conduct your life in a fine Yiddish way, you don't have to do much talking, and people want to hear, and people, you know what I'm saying? So this is part of that bracha b'simcha b'pnimius. So I wish each other the same bracha that the Rebbe gives, b'kabbalas hatayr b'simcha b'pnimius, and that's why there's nothing kind of to do. What do we have to do? Just hit aseres hadibris. The answer is, that's the hardest thing to do, because Pesach and the Yom Neiroim and the Yom Yitayvim, you have items. The lulav and esrik is going to get me in. The Torah, holding the Torah, dancing is going to get me in. The crying, the Ne'ilah is going to get me in. Pesach, it's the bite of matzah and morah, right? What's Shavuos? Shavuos, you can't rely on those objects. It gotta come from within you. May Hashem help us. V'zoicha to the Gula Shlema. Everyone should have a good Yom Tov, a healthy Yom Tov. Only Yiddish nachas and the children with good health. Parnasa barchava, and everyone should be safe. And those that need a for Shlema should have one immediately. Shidduchim should have one immediately. Good Shidduchim, and we should see each other in Hashem Wednesday morning.
All right.
Sai gesund. Good Yom Tov. Take care. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Samech.